The emergency brake has been disengaged, the rear spoiler has been modified, and our 99 Honda Civic has been wrapped with our favorite energy drinks logo. It's time to take the high road.
Energy drink would be our favorite. What stickers?
5 Hour Enema.
Oh, I thought they went out of business. That someone came out with 4 Hour Enema.
I
It was a
bought a
little
I bought a lifetime supply before.
lifetime supply, so they have to honor that even if they went out of business.
No, it's all in my
Oh,
closet. Yeah, no.
okay.
Well, it's music month.
It's music month, and we wanted to have music on the show, but we are not doing that because we are a goof troop right now, and our technicalities. I'm sorry, our technical issues with our screen.
Our
So
technicalities.
our technicalities. We like music, so we're going to talk about music, or we're going to talk about growing up and what music we first started listening to, and kind of what influenced us in the beginning, and talk about the old timers like ourselves and what we grew up listening to as far as radio, and then started off with cassettes and then moved on to CDs. I wouldn't be surprised if an 18-year-old right now doesn't even know what a tape cassette is.
Those are coming back though. I know a lot of bands are releasing cassette tapes, which is
Really?
cool. Yeah.
I know. I'm a big fan of the vinyl, where I like collecting current vinyls, but I don't know if, man, you got to go to like some estate sales and find a tape recorder or a tape player to even. Are they selling stuff now? Is there a
Yeah, no,
company
there's a new one. You can go on Amazon and get like a combo record, CD, MP3, tape deck, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that you're gonna have that combo in your car. Is it something you just have at your house and you just
No, yeah,
nostalgically put it on? Like,
you put that on the dash. It's just a big old thing. You can't see, like, it's just sitting there. Let me get my record out. Driving, trying to put the needle.
I think it should have been a foregone conclusion that it's not going to be in your car. But but no, like a dash, because my dash had a displayer and radio, and now they don't even have a displayer. It's only just like auxiliary, maybe input and buttons, and there's no CD. My 2010 Camry has a CD feeder, but my Honda CRV does not.
Yeah. All right. Well, so what was the first memory of like music that you have?
I think I was influenced for the most part with my dad in the beginning, with him always listening to classic rock. That was just something I grew up on. So I liked the old, he would blast music, or we'd be hanging out in the backyard and he'd be playing music. Usually it was anything from, Steely Dan to the Beatles to one of my favorites, Supertramp. And yeah, so I was on that for a while in the 80s. And then I think got into like some not hip, I get Michael Jackson hip hop and stuff like that. And then of course, into the early 90s, got into that grunge rock and alternative and Nirvana and Pearl Jam and all that stuff. But definitely, I still like classic rock. It just thing with classic rock is that nothing new ever comes out. So it's not like if you just like alternative or a certain type of genre that keeps coming out, there's not really a few bands have a flavor of some classic rock in them, but I never got into country. I know a lot of people in Clovis and Central Valley, a lot of farmers, a lot of cowboys actually. My actually first concert was an Alan Jackson concert, so that's kind of funny. I wasn't feeling it, but it was my first concert, and it was for one of my buddies. I think it was his 10 or 12 birthday party, or when he was turning 12. But yeah, I was classic rock for a while until early 90s, and then it was some grunge rock and alternative. How about you, James?
Yeah, I've always loved radio. I think media wise, that might be my first love. I don't know what it was. Driving in cars, I just loved music. I remember, and my mom's probably listening to this, so she might correct me, but I know that they listen to their own music. I remember one song specifically that I remember was Lady in Red, hearing that on the radio a lot.
Yeah.
I didn't like that song, but it was on there, and I do also remember when we go on like little road trips, I had my own cassette tapes that they would play every once in a while. Like I think it was like Sesame Street or Muppets or something, you know. It was like my own, I always wanted my own music. So, and then I grew up in a conservative household. Once my parents split, my house became, you know, more conservative. My mom found religion, and we were, she was pretty, you know, strict about certain things, but she was always very cool about allowing us to listen to our own music. I think like you said, you're kind of influenced by what your parents listened to, but I don't remember exactly what my parents were listening to other than like the radio. So what was ever on the radio? I do remember my first cassette tape uh might have been, as like knowing music, was the Michael Jackson, not Thriller, what was the other one? Bad. Michael Jackson Bad.
Yeah.
And like my dad got me like that and Mike and the Mechanics. um you know
I'm
that one.
blanking.
I would play it for you, but we just can't. There's no access
That's
for it.
fine.
Um, but
That way,
then
so what? That was
no,
your
go ahead.
first cassette?
Well, no, I had those little kid cassettes, you know, but I think the one where I think I asked for music for the first time was in a Christmas, and my dad got me Bad, Mike and the Mechanics, and there's one other one that I can't remember. There's three cassette tapes I got, and I think I got a Walkman with like a cassette tape Walkman,
Yeah.
like AM FM radio with a cassette. Um,
Yeah, and it pops open, you slip it right
mhm,
in.
yeah.
Dude, yeah, yeah, that was the like having that, like be able to listen to that on riding the bus or just hanging out after school, waiting to get picked up or whatever. But yeah, I think my first two cassettes, what came out sooner? Was it um Metallica, the Black Album, or the Vanilla Ice when Vanilla Ice was popular? One of those two were the first ones I remember buying at the music store.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't
Um,
know. I was never a Metallica guy, so I don't even know what year that came out. Vanilla Ice would have been like 91, I think.
yeah,
So that's funny because I was gonna go back to that. So then I had two friends who we were talking, somehow music came up on a sleepover. Um, and they brought up like, oh,
ooh,
we're
wait, let's go to the sleepover. Who was there just sleeping with you?
two dudes, just some two
Dude,
dudes.
yeah, you guys sharing sleeping bags or you guys have your own
Yeah,
space?
yeah. No, we were on the floor, our own space, but we were talking about music, and these were my two best friends growing up, and they were saying, "Oh, we like rap now." And I was like, "I have no idea what rap is." So I had that cassette, that Walkman, but it had radio. So I remember
Yeah,
the whole night. They're like, "I don't." They couldn't explain rap to me, so I was like, "Well,
yeah,
what is it? What is it?" And so I was listening all night, like look, and I kept giving them like the headphones. I was like, "Is this rap?" And they're like, "No." It was probably like R&B or something
yeah.
silly. And then Salt and Pepper Push It came on, and handed it, like, is this rap? And they're like, yeah, I guess kind of it is, you
It's
know.
a soft side of rap. Yeah,
Yeah, it's like R&B, like rap. And so then I became that's when I became kind of obsessed with like rap, and it wasn't hip hop, it was like rap, you know. And my favorite song, and this I remember the year because it was 88. I looked at all the songs I was looking at, so I was about 7 years old when I discovered it. It was DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, Will Smith.
yeah.
Parents Just Don't Understand, or Nightmare on My Street, which terrified me. If you haven't heard that, you should go listen to it. It was terrifying. Um, and then Bobby Brown, he was my favorite artist at the time. So
Bye.
more R&B and like hip hop stuff, and then like you said, then MC Hammer came out,
Too
Vanilla
legit to
Ice came
quit.
out, yeah. Um,
Ice baby.
trying to think what other like hip hop. So I was really into hip hop for a long time. Like that
Well,
was
I couldn't get into hip hop or rap like heavy, but I think a lot of people will listen to NWA and some of the like I feel
oh
like
yeah.
Bo Ewing and some of the other dudes got me exposed to some of the raps or like late 80s, early 90s, you know, 12 years old, sixth, seventh, eighth grade. But I could never get really hardcore into rap. I just didn't. I mean, remember Bone Thugs and Harmony? There was like a couple Master P. There was a couple like towards the mid '90s where I started like really liking Dr. Dre, and I just but like I was more towards like end of high school for me for getting into rap and hip hop.
Yeah, and I use the term hip hop loosely. I mean, like it was like Will Smith, Crisscross, you
Yeah,
know,
make you jump, jump.
yeah, ABC, which was like another kids hip hop group, or rap group. Yeah, so I use that term hip hop loosely. It was like rap, kind of like silly dance, jump around. And
Yeah,
then yeah, I started getting into like a little bit heavier hip hop stuff, you know, once Tupac, Biggie, and all those guys came out. Like you said, Bone Thug, like
Yeah,
Yeah.
Tupac. What was that really good Tupac CD that came out? Was it
All
96?
Eyes on Me.
All Eyes on Me. How did I forget that? Probably one of my favorite rap albums. Maybe I'm already cutting into an episode down the road for this month, but that was a big rap one where I was just like, oh, this is it right here. I'll listen to this all day. But I'd never really heard albums that had so many good songs, for me.
Well, and then so maybe it was similar to me. My dad wasn't a big like rap guy.
Yeah, he definitely doesn't
I,
seem like the type.
I can't imagine your dad was either. So
He was actually a very avid fan. He was totally wanting to take me to some concerts of some rappers.
he was actually an A&R rep for Death Row Records.
Yeah.
Um, and then so the first song that turned me on to like rock and roll or alternative rock was cliche enough was Smells Like Teen Spirit. I think
Mhm.
did it come out in 91? I had a friend come over and he had a disc man. He was like the first person I knew who had a disc man. And he brought it over to my house and I was like, "What are you listening to?" And he showed me the song and that for ding 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 ding, you hear it and you're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, that's cool." And then gago, gago,
It's
gago, gago.
catchy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I didn't really like rock. I mean, my dad had listened to, AC/DC, um, Van Halen. I never got into the hair stuff in the 80s. I just didn't like rock and roll. Some classic rock was okay, like the AC/DC, Led Zeppelin, kind of like I would listen to, but I never listened to it on my own. It was always rap or R&B. And so I heard that riff and I was like, "Oh my goodness." And I remember we were hanging out and playing I think it was at his house originally when I heard it. And we kept like doing, playing video games or whatever. And I kept wanting to go back over to his Discman and just put the headphones back on because I had never heard anything like that before. And I think I went
Yeah.
over like 3 times, like, "What are you doing?" I was like, he's like, "Just buy the CD." I was like, "I don't have a CD player." I mean, you could obviously get a tape, but I was a little nervous to ask my mom for like alt rock, like that grunge sound, even though she was
Yeah.
letting me listen to like, kid friendly rap. But I remember like like the Beastie Boys. I never really had any of those albums growing up. I had to listen to those at like friends' houses. But yeah, that Smells Like Teen Spirit, cliche enough, was like one of the reasons I was like, oh, I think I kind of like rock. And then it was for me that made me like love alternative rock was I heard Daughter and Glorified Version by or was it what is it, Glorified G by Pearl Jam
Yeah.
off their second album. I heard those and I was like, "Oh, whoa, this is really cool." So we went to the record store with my dad and he bought me, I think he was excited that I liked rock, not rap anymore. So he's like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
let's go get the album." So we walk in, I was like, "Hey, can I get the new album from Pearl Jam?" And they handed it to me. I went home, I listened to the whole thing, and I was like, "Well, those songs aren't on this. What is this? This isn't the right album." Apparently this is when Vitalogy came out, like, oh, that week came out. So
Gotcha.
I went in to get Verses thinking it was the new album, but I got Vitalogy and I was like, "Oh
That
my
was a good
gosh, like
album too.
this album was I mean, that changed everything for me." And after that, I primarily listened to alternative rock after that album.
Yeah. I feel like the Nirvana got me paying attention, and then definitely actually, what Foo Fighters and Pearl Jam, like that mid 90s, 94 to 98. I feel like people were killing it, like just rocking it out. And yeah, Yellow Ledbetter was one of my favorite about Pearl Jam. I'd listen to that over and over again. And yeah, I feel like that's where I kind of transitioned from classic rock to more current rock with Nirvana and Radiohead. Dude, that Radiohead, their first two albums were amazing. I feel like there were some bands that were really just killing it. Their first couple, 2 or 3 albums in the 90s. I would say even I meant Red Hot Chili Peppers. The first, they didn't get super popular till like mid 90s, but they had a couple in a row right there towards the end of the 90s that were amazing in a row.
Yeah, that was one of my first rock tapes. My dad got me Blood Sugar Sex Magic, and I think, sorry mom, I hid it from you in the back of something.
Wait, what was your hiding spot? How did you hide it?
There was like a dresser that I had, like a drawer that had like a back spot that only my arm could like kind of fit in. So I just like
Yeah.
I think I had 2 tapes. I had that one and the Above the Rim soundtrack, which was
Such
like
a
hip
rebel.
hop.
What a
Yeah.
rebel.
Yeah, I had those 2 tapes back there and I would listen to them every once in a while.
Next,
But yeah,
next thing you,
but
go
what?
ahead. Sorry.
Drugs? That is where I kept my drugs.
Okay. That's what I was gonna say. Next thing
Um
you're hiding back there is drugs and paraphernalia.
no, but that night, yeah, from 90 like 3 to 98, I would say was just such awesome music. It's probably my second favorite era of music that I've lived through.
Wait, what's your first favorite era?
Probably like the early 2000s to about 2012, I think would be my first favorite. I think I listened to those bands and songs more than I listened to like the 90s grunge or alt stuff.
Yeah, I think that I'm very similar to you on that. I think, yeah, I mean, with Built to Spill and Modest Mouse and a lot of good bands that were starting in the late 90s but didn't really get bigger until early 2000s. 2000, I thought 2004 to 2006 had some really new good bands like a Metric and Band of Horses, like all these bands that I still listen to. I think were from the 2001 to 2007 was bands I still listen to now, and I'm kind of similar to you. I have to go out of my way to listen to some of the 90s because they don't just come up on my playlist.
That's accurate for me too. That's just such a great era. That'd be my first, and then the 90s is my second. But if somebody was going to argue with me about that, I wouldn't argue, put up too much of an argument, because obviously, like we were talking about videos today. The videos in that time were unbelievable. Like
Yeah.
anywhere from like seventh, eighth grade till I was driving. If I wasn't doing something, I was like watching MTV. Like it was just on
Yeah.
in the background. Like if I was doing homework, MTV was on. If I was like friends were over, MTV was on. It was just always on for me.
And do you think it was just as distracting for us, like with TV and music videos, as it is for devices and YouTube now for kids?
I mean, it's probably very similar or the same, but I would say for me, it was, I could still do my homework and listen. And then if it's like
Right.
a video I hadn't seen or one that I really liked, then I would pop up, but I wasn't just glued to it. So maybe
Gotcha.
I was being more productive with music videos, but it was on all the time. I remember thinking, they had the spring break, when you're in high school or whatever, young, not driving around, not being able to go anywhere. MTV Spring Break was on all the time, like the live
Dude.
performances, like the contest, summer, like the Beach House, MTV Beach House was such a big deal. Like
Dude, even like Roadhouse, or not Roadhouse,
with Patrick
Roadhouse.
Swayze.
No,
What
geez.
what song did he release?
I meant
What was
Real
his
World.
big single? I
I
want to know
meant
what
Real
Patrick Swayze's big single was.
Roadhouse. Come on, he says that song, that one song. No, I meant to say Road Rules and The Real World. They have
Hmm.
those were I think some of the first reality TV shows, and it's crazy because they were trying to, I feel like, find a new genre to besides just music videos. I think they thought maybe people were getting bored, so I feel like late 90s, early 2000s. That's when that live TV was MTV. I think kind of led the way, and then major networks started doing, The Amazing Race and The Bachelor and all the other stuff early 2000s, and it just kind of stayed as a thing. But I don't know if MTV was actually the catalyst or the had led the way, but I remember watching some of that with my sister, and she was just kind of into it a little bit, watching Real World and Road Rules.
No, I think it's commonly known, like in media, that I think that Real World and MTV kind of started that whole thing. I think it was such a, that was like appointment television back in the day. Like I think we were younger. We were probably in middle school, I think, when the first Real World came out.
Yeah, I
Maybe.
would say eighth, ninth grade. And
Hmm.
then and then I was obsessed with Jenna McCarthy, and MTV had, didn't they have Singled Out that they
Oh yeah.
hosted? Dude,
And
and it's like, I was like, this supposed to be music, but it's just a hot chick that's just kicking off people off the show or whatever. Dude, I loved it. I had posters of her up in my room. It was not an unhealthy
oh,
obsession.
whoa now. Hold on.
Yeah, but it was like MTV, I feel, was doing things different. They were ahead of the game on a lot of stuff, and they're kind of an afterthought now. I mean, you don't hear people just talking about MTV really.
No, it's kind of a bummer. I'll go by every once in a while when I'm flipping through channels, and it's mainly what Rob Deerdicks, is that the right way to say his name?
Dear Dick?
Deer's
Say
Dick. Is that Rob's Deer's Dick?
Rob Rob's near his dick. Well, I
Deerdick
hope so. He's
from Rob
attached
and
to it.
Big, from Rob and Big doing his ridiculousness. I
Yeah.
guess it's like always ridiculous or a movie. Like I haven't seen music videos on MTV, which is kind of a bummer. Like I
Well, I
feel
think
like I would still would be have friends over or like doing something. I should have music videos just on. Like you should have a channel of just music videos. Yeah, and then MTV had the 120 minutes, which was like an indie rock. That's where a lot of the like Radiohead, uh
Mhm.
Built to Spill, um sort of indie pavement videos you wouldn't see throughout the day necessarily.
And,
That
oh,
was
and
my
then MTV Unplugged. Remember that? I was like getting to
hmm
see the concert. Then there was the crowd there. I feel like we need to bring back MTV. It needs to be a major player. Oh, I was gonna say for ridiculousness or whatever with what's his name? I
Rob's
forgot the
Deer Dick.
Yes. I guess I was watching a YouTube about it. I don't know if he's still doing it, but he was like recording like 300 shows a year, but he was like so efficient. Like he made it work and he still had good balance with his company and he just did bartered a deal or bargained.
Bartender. He needs another.
He bartered a deal or negotiated a deal.
He bartered.
Negotiated.
He's trading something. So I
His
hopefully he's
time
getting paid. Hopefully
his
he's getting paid for all these thousands of episodes he records every
yes, his
year.
time and service for
Yeah.
that company, he got a compensation for. And I was
Yeah.
losing my words, James, and I feel like you just need to let me get work through it, okay? And the audience is going to be patient. They're going to understand I'm dealing with what I'm dealing with in my head. And they want to hear it, James. They want to hear what I want to get the point I'm trying to make. What point I'm making, I don't really know right now anymore. But
Today, Junior.
all right, yeah. No, so yeah, I didn't until I started doing research and we're talking about it right now. Like MTV was pretty influential. I feel like for a whole generation, at least 10, 15 years from I think the early 90s to the mid 2000s.
I mean, I would go even further than that. I think 80s to 80s to early like 2004, 5, 6. I think I don't think I watched much after that. Yeah, it's a bummer. Like I don't think kids or my kids, your kids too, will understand what a big deal MTV was. I mean, there's documentaries done on it, there's series done on it, but
Your kids are going to think you're a big deal, okay? You're going to be the MTV of this next generation.
am I now? But that's another to go to something where hello.
Today, Junior.
uh music isn't tangible anymore, like you don't, you can buy discs still, you can buy tapes, and records obviously have fluctuated with how many people want them and how many, collectors and being able to listen to it. But my kids will never, well, I can't say never because you never know what the future is going to hold, but going
Most
to a
likely.
record store, yeah, most likely going to a record store, finding an album you've been looking for, or a CD you've been looking for. Everything ever since the iPod came out and Wi-Fi came out, music really isn't tangible. Like you're not holding it, you're not seeking it. You just go on the computer and listen to it. And my kids will never understand like possession of that music, and also trying to look for it, and also just how big MTV played, and radio for that matter. Radio now, I still listen to a lot of radio. I might be the only person who listens to as much radio as I still do.
Thanks to our one listener, James Bush, out in Long Beach, California.
They play the same song for 3 months, and then same 20 songs for 3 months, and then 3 months later it's the same 20 songs again. So, but back in the day, it was like you had to listen to radio, to figure out. College radio was a huge one at Fresno State. I used to listen to the college radio station just to discover bands. Not having like an older sister or brother who would like show me, music. You just had to find it on your own. Head to the Warehouse or Tower Records and put on those cans and listen, push the button.
Press
Like,
the
"Is
button
that
to
good?"
listen.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah, let's backtrack even more back to the cassette. Did you ever I had the twin tape deck, and I would like listen to the radio and wait for the song to about start. All right, on next, and you like try and time it to record it. And you're like, all right, I'm gonna make the perfect playlist. And then you get a little commercial at the end, and you're like, dang it! And you just try and like record it so it's like this perfect playlist. I mean, I would spend hours trying to record my perfect playlist by listening to radio just for hours, and then waiting to hit the record on the good songs. And then I'd have that with me in my little Walkman case, and be like, yeah, check out this playlist, bro.
Yep. It's like the commercials cut out.
We're that generation. We're the last non-digital, or I think the group that grew up with cassettes and nothing did, CDs, not digital, but then you had like the MP3 players, and like you said, the iPod or iPad, no iPod, yeah. And I think from Yeah, early 2000s. It was just kind of over. Remember the litigation and lawsuits with Napster, or was it, and what was that music
Mhm.
service, and
Yep.
Metallica sued them or whatever, and that's when I kind of felt that shift of things are going to go digital, and I never really thought that as a kid. I just was listening to what was out there, what device was the norm.
I mean, I kind of hated it. I like the fact that I would use those like pirating things like Napster or Pirate Bay or whatever those were, to find rare like live things. But if I wanted an album, I would just go buy the CD. You know what I mean? Like I loved having the liner notes. I loved like looking and reading through the
The
books.
lyrics,
Yeah, I
yeah.
love just have. I mean, I still in my shed. I wish I had like a shelf where I could play all these like CDs. I have probably 2,000 CDs still in there. Um,
You gotta
just
let
because
that
that's
go.
that was
You
my.
gotta,
I
you got.
never will. I probably never will.
I've actually
Um,
downsized. I got rid of some CDs. It's like, I downloaded them to my iTunes, and then I kind of got rid of them because I wanted to get down to one bin. But I kept all my favorites. It's almost, like, all right, these are for my personal memories. But yeah, like DVDs. You just I have one bin of DVDs. I still haven't got rid of them yet.
we have a handful of them. I never got into like I'm not like I never once I see a movie, I like don't really rewatch movies. I've never been that guy. Like I don't rewatch a lot of films. Like I have my top, 10 that I'll watch and I don't even know if I own those. But back to the point, like once it became digital, like I hated it. I hated the move towards like you can just listen to it, just go on iTunes. I was like, I don't want to go on iTunes. I want to like I want to go at the time it was Amoeba Records. I was living down in LA.
I know you took me there a couple times. Probably one of my favorite record stores was Amoeba.
Yeah, there you go.
I,
I was like, I want to go to Amoeba and spend an hour and a half looking for new stuff or trying to find something. I remember the last two albums or CDs. I keep saying albums, but I mean like CDs at the time that I had to like go searching for was the Clap Your Hands Say Yeah self-titled original one. You
hmm
couldn't find a copy of it. I kept going back to Amoeba every week, and finally I found one. And then was a Wolf Parade EP that came out before their Apologies to the Queen Mary.
Yeah.
Those are the last two. That was like 2005 and 2007. I finally found that Wolf Parade EP, and that was the last time I had that excitement of like finding something. And I was like, oh, it's a bummer. I guess I'm not gonna have to do that anymore.
I think my last like good find what I was looking for is that short print of the First Strokes CD where they had New York City Cops on it, and it was a
Mhm.
different album cover or
With that
CD
lady in
cover.
the hip with her hip.
I have
Mhm.
the LP and I have the CD, and that was what, maybe 2003 2004, when I know it came out, what, 2001.
One. Hmm.
Yeah, but I just never really found it, the short print one, until a couple
Hmm.
years later, and I think that was one of my last ones that I bought. Everything else has been digital, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I'll still buy records just because I like
Yeah, vinyls, dude.
something tangible. I actually don't like the sound of records. I know I'm in the minority here. Like Lori loves records and she'll want to play records, but I can't do it.
What is your problem, pal?
Dude, I
How do
want
you?
to sit and listen to music. I don't have to get up every 15 minutes and flip it over and read like and I don't even
Oh,
think it sounds all that great.
I don't want digital where I can just listen for hours without moving. I want records, but I don't really like the sound or have to get up. It doesn't make any sense, bro.
No,
You're
I'm
all up.
saying I don't
Whoa,
I
whoa, whoa.
listen
Everyone,
here.
just calm down. Okay. We're talking music. You're taking this a little too serious, and we just need to relax. Okay.
I like a tangible CD where I can put it into my computer, import it all, make my own playlist, have my CD in the car that I can play. I don't want a record where I have to get up every like 10 minutes to flip it or change it. And then like
That is annoying. I'll be like doing some work or like, chores in my house, and then I'll all of a sudden hear the tapping. I'm like, I gotta go flip the record.
Mhm.
But I don't know if it's nostalgic with just growing up and my dad playing records. And I like the grainy sound a little bit, almost like it's live, if you will. And it's not like clear, like super clear cut, like a real good studio CD. And so I do like records, but that is the one annoying thing, is having to get up and any like CDs, you could skip a song. Like, I'm just not feeling it. Skip it. Like a
Mhm.
record, you have to like lift it up and move it over just a little bit and get it in that little groove before the next song. So that's the old struggle, kids. You'll never know that struggle unless you really want to go out of your way to get a record player and put it on your dash and just listen to records while you drive.
I know I'm in the minority. I know that people love listening to records. They think it's the most
You're
purest form of listening, but I was never
you're
into it.
you're a minority? No.
Look at this. Look at this tone.
So we went to from cassettes and the challenge of the late 80s, early 90s with making the perfect playlist for your girlfriend or boyfriend. That's there's I think two girlfriends I had. Actually, no. So one girlfriend I was young enough where I gave them a cassette, and then another girlfriend, I think, and I don't know if it was Sabrina or who, maybe it was Elizabeth. One of my girlfriends in high school, I made a CD for. And it had some couple love songs on it, couple
Yeah,
like
what give us the track list.
I can't remember it now, but I think there was Wild Horses on it by the Rolling Stones. I was trying to let her know Wild Horses couldn't drag me away from you. That was pretty clever for 12 year
And
old.
then Tub Thumping by Chumbawamba.
I get knocked down, I get up again. No, that was more for the early 2000s.
That's
Hanging
90s,
out.
huh?
No, I'm saying like I could relate to that, but
Mm.
going out drinking and getting knocked down. I don't think anyone would have caught that reference unless I explained it.
Then maybe just keep it.
Just not share. Sometimes you just don't want to share thoughts. But yeah, I made some CDs, and the other thing too is like going on deployment. When we didn't have digital downloads, you had to take your bin of CDs, and I loved it when you sent me care packages, those early 2000s when I was on the deployment, and you'd send care packages of like awesome snacks, and then like a couple of CDs you made for me, and that I'm telling you, and I'm not trying to get brownie points with you, but that was like one of the cooler things you did as a friend. So thank you for that, James.
Oh, you're welcome. No, I loved, it was a double-edged sword. I didn't like the digital versions of like downloading songs, but it did make for easier mixtapes or CDs. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that was fun. I loved making. I miss making those. I still actually make them on Spotify. Like I'll have lists of like driving or like I said I do in a previous episode. I'll do each year. I'll have songs of just that year, and then after every decade, which is coming up on 2 decades now. I'll combine them. So it's like all of 2000 to 2010, 2010
Yeah.
to 2020. Um, so I love making mixtapes or mix CDs or whatever you want to call them.
I think that some of the apps, especially Spotify, when you pick that genre or a certain band for a radio, it does a good mix. I think it misses the mark sometimes, and you have to like skip or whatever, and not save as your favorite. But yeah, I think the apps are pretty good about getting that genre and mixing it up good. And like, I think I've heard a few good new bands or songs that I wouldn't have known about unless I did the setting where it does suggestions. And I really just counted on my own searching and you, James, but I think Spotify has helped me find a couple new good bands.
Yeah. Do you remember what your first CD was?
So I think I ended up liking the Metallica CD so much. I want to say it's Enter Sandman, whatever album that was, but I liked it so much on the cassette that I like a year later I got it, or I think maybe a year later I got it on CD. I think Metallica was my first one. I don't know why. All of a sudden I'm into the grunge rock, long hair Metallica. I was not into Poison or some of those other 80s rock bands because I feel like Metallica was rocking it out. It was like a heavy version of that long-haired 80s rock stuff. And so my long answer to that short question is Metallica. Like,
Well,
but
I
a lot
think
of
my first CD randomly was Stereo MCs. Do you remember them?
no.
I believe it was that. I think that was my um you
Yeah.
gotta
So
get yourself connected. The writing's
Metallica,
on the wall.
it's literally Metallica Black Album. Like
Okay. There you go.
it was had like
So
a
just
snake on it that don't tread on me.
so just the self-titled.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it
So
was
that
just
was your first
Metallica.
CD.
I'm gonna go with that. I can't say without a doubt, but that was definitely a memorable one that I bought.
Yeah, mine was the Stereo MCs. It was a terrible album.
What made you want to
I
get it?
think I think I traded somebody for some. I think I had a tape that somebody wanted, and I go, I have a Stereo MC CD, and I was like, okay. And I think we had just gotten a CD player, so I think I traded them. So that was like my first. And then, did you ever do the 8 CDs for 1 penny?
Oh my goodness, they were trying to bill me some money.
Uh,
And that was such a scam, but I do the intro like 8 for 1. And you have to buy like 2 more or whatever,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't do it, and they're like, you're outstanding, Bill, and I had that for like months. It's like,
Yeah, I
all right.
still think they're trying to collect from me.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That was a thing,
Yeah.
and it's like, I mean, if you did it right and you cancel your subscription or whatever, and we got like 10 CDs for like $40. I was like, not too bad.
Yeah, that's not too bad. But it was, this is before internet, so you had to like write in or call in. Like it was all, you had to
Yeah,
do everything.
paper and a stamp. That's what I did. And then
And you
I
put the penny in there, right? Like, didn't you have to like paste the penny on or something? I remember
maybe
that.
I don't know, I can't remember, but I just remember I came back from boot camp or within 299 2000 come, and I still was getting bills from them, and I was just like, well, I'm in the Navy now. I'm getting paid. Let me just pay this off and get rid of it. So I mailed in that last bill, and then I was like, I'm not signing up for this anymore. This is BS.
All right, I was gonna pose this question. Maybe we won't be able to do it. We'll see. Could you give me three like songs that kind of defined your music listening, like throughout your life? Like through, like you think of like the first time you heard a song, you're like, oh my gosh.
Oh, that's a toughie. I think I might need to bank that one and get back
Hmm.
to you, because I feel like I'd really have to just sit down and think, and because I do relate music with times in my life and experiences in my life, and makes me think about, when I hear certain classic rock songs like especially Steely Dan or Supertramp, makes me think of my dad immediately.
Hmm.
And there's other songs in high school make me think about, just life in high school and experience, or recently broke up with a girlfriend, and then I started listening to this music, and it helped me get through the sad times of breaking up with my girlfriend in high school. So I'd have to think about it to really give you good answers.
Well, I mean, less of nostalgia and like songs you love or songs that mean something to you. Like, I guess what I was getting at is there any songs that like made you change your perspective of what music was or how music could be performed or done? Or is that the
Uh,
same?
Once again, I have no comment. Well, no, I mean, music give me, and I was more of music, the actual music notes and the melody and all that stuff, and I was never super into lyrics. I'd listen to lyrics, especially but I could listen to a song like 20, 30 times, and a couple notes from the song play, and I know what it is, but I couldn't tell you what the second lyric was. And it was that's just not how my brain was wired. So I think I started to appreciate the talent of just a guitar riff, and that's why I think I liked a lot of the classic rock. Is just those dudes just probably stoned out of their mind, just rocking away with some just great interludes, and just I was more of just the music rather than the lyrics. And I think as I got older, I started listening to lyrics more, and I feel like you understand it once you get older. Like you can uh listen to a song about heartache or heartbreak and not really get it when you're younger, and then you go through a couple of relationships and you're like, oh, now I'm feeling these lyrics. So I think there's too many times where I that are memorable, and I probably could work on a list. I'll get back to you, James, on I think the top three. Now, are you looking for why they were so important, or just that they were just so good?
Yeah, like that's what I was gonna do. Like, I'll give you my three. So, Parents Just Don't Understand was like a hip hop, like my first rap song, right? I mean, but I'm eight, I'm 8 years
Okay.
old.
And you know what? And at the time, you
Seven,
probably
7 years old, actually. Huh?
you probably thought parents just don't understand. So these
Yeah,
guys get me.
yeah. So that was like, oh, this is rap music. This is cool. I like this. This is fun. And then the second one would be Corduroy. Well, it's a mix between Smells Like Teen Spirit, which was like, oh, maybe I do like rock music. And then when I heard Corduroy off Vitology, I was like, oh, I want to learn how to play guitar and play music because I love what this sounds like. And then my third one is Where's My Mind by the Pixies. When I heard that, I didn't realize, like, I was so blown away that I had never heard that song and it had been out for a decade. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like,
Dude,
how did they make this song in 1989 and I'm hearing it in 1999 for the first time when this is what I've been looking for my whole life to hear a song like this. So those are the three that like kind of just shaped my perspective of like what I like in music and why I like music.
yeah, I'm right on the same I think kind of experience or same boat as you. I didn't even know about the Pixies really, or in that song "Where's My Mind" until the closing scene
Hmm.
of Fight Club, and I was like, "What is it?" I thought it was like a new song, and then I go to find out, I was like, oh yeah, it's been out for 10 years. It's like, how did I not ever get like in the loop on this one? And so, and then, I just talking to you and listening to the music and getting more into Pixies, and we got to see him at Coachella. It was at 2004.
Hmm.
Which I haven't seen them since, and I think seeing we saw Pixies and then Radiohead, like there was some good lineups back in the day, early 2000s, and I never went to Vans Warped Tour or anything like that, but yeah, I think that's a great choice. I feel like Where's My Mind is top 5 as far as impact and getting into that genre.
Yeah. So I mean, it was in the. So that's when I heard it too. It was in that movie, but they played it in the preview. So like when that movie was coming out, it was like the winter, I believe, of '99 or fall winter, and
Yeah,
then they played that during the preview of the movie. And I'm like, well, what is that? What song is that? I had to like figure it out. Like again, this is like pre like internet, really. Like
couldn't
there was
Shazam it.
no. And so like I was in art school at the time, and of course all the art kids knew what it was. I like went to them, I was like, have you heard that? Like, oh, that's the Pixies. It's Where's My Mind. It's been out for 10 years. And I was like, so that opened my eyes to be like, oh, there's so much music because you just whatever's on MTV, whatever's on the radio, or whatever you see on late night TV as far as like who's performing or whatever. That was the only music I knew. Like there's so much more music that you'll never know. And
Yeah.
it blew my mind. I remember listening to that. I bought that album, Surfer Rosa and Doolittle, I think, at the same time, the two albums of theirs, and listened to it on a train ride back from Los Angeles to Fresno to come visit family during Christmas break. And I just was in shock that I had this music had been around for 10 years and I had never heard one note of it. And was like, who's been hiding this stuff from us? Like, why do we not know about this? I mean, some people did, but I definitely didn't.
Yeah. I don't know if it was just not good marketing or we just kind of, missed the big popularity when they first came out, or what as far as in regards to the Pixies. But yeah, I think a lot of indie bands we didn't really know. There's still bands from like the 90s that I'm kind of like hearing a random song of, and then I go research them, like, oh man, they had multiple albums in the 90s and a couple in the 2000s, and I just never really got into them. And they only had maybe one or two good songs on a full album, so I can see why they didn't go mainstream. But I feel like one of the bands, and then I'll close with this because I'll probably end up talking about this band a lot more this month, is Built to Spill. Like I feel like they have so many bangers. They have so many good songs, but we've seen them in concert multiple times, me, you, and James, and sometimes some other people. I think they're amazing in a smaller venue like Belly Up or, less than 1,000 people. But then they did the big stage at one of the big concerts, and they just didn't seem like they fit for whatever reason to like that stage presence. But like close to the stage when we would go sometimes was just amazing. And I think that Built to Spill is kind of one of those bands that a lot of people still don't know about. And I try to tell my friends, not tell my friends, but I definitely, if people ask me about music, I'll definitely drop Built to Spill and talk about them because I think they're one of my top 5.
Yeah, I think they probably had a hard time marketing them when they first came out. Doug's not like super outgoing. Doug Marsh,
Yeah,
he's not, you know what I mean? He's not like and he's not like cool looking. He's always looked like a 40-year-old dad, his whole life.
yeah,
Um, but you're right. They opened up for Kings of Leon, I think, when we went to go see him, right? Is that what it
I
was?
think
That
that
big
sounds
venue?
right. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just not the same, but they're like a jam band. Like you'll go and hear them multiple times and they'll do the songs different every time and you're like, "Oh my gosh," like just and when they're on, man. But I've seen them a couple times where like they're fighting with each other, like looking at the guitar like, "Yeah, you missed that note." Like but no, they're fantastic. But I think same with the Pixies, they're probably hard to market them back in the day just because Frank Black's again not like the most, outgoing and he's not
He wasn't like Eddie
TV
Vedder or,
friendly. Yeah,
yeah.
he wasn't
Stone
cool.
like,
Like they just weren't cool looking. They were just like normal looking dudes. I think back in the time when like MTV, like we were talking about, you needed somebody to like kind of stand out.
Well, I think that's why Red Hot Chili Peppers and Pearl Jam, they just had a good front man that was very full of energy. And I think that's MTV recognized that, and with doing shows and having those type of bands on.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I look forward to us actually listening to music on for the music month. So audience. You could thank James for not making that happen, but I'm glad we still could bring some content to you guys, and hopefully you were entertained. I know I was. And once again, we're trying to do trying to be a little different. I know we're not super amazing sometimes, but I think a lot of our age group, anyone in there from their 30s to the 50s, can relate with a lot of our topics. We need to just get some of that TikTok going. I think we can get some 20-year-old crowd in our listener group.
I don't want them. You can keep them. I don't need them.
But I mean, they're not going to know. They need to listen to us so they know about cassettes and CDs and Walkman and Discman and how you had to go to an album store to actually find music that was rare, not just Google it and then YouTube watch it in about 12 seconds. So I think that was what made it so cool to have and show off. Like, I got this CD, because you put effort into it. Like you putting effort into Google and letting someone listen to something. It's like, oh yeah, that's a cool band. Like, maybe I'll listen to them later. I don't know. It's a different lifestyle.
It truly is. Well, I enjoyed talking music. I look forward to the next few shows. Music focus. I think we both love talking about it and reminiscing. So I look forward to it.
Music saved my life.
Bye.
Later, dude. Catch you on the next one. And cut.